This is VOA Africa.
Good evening, I'm Esther Gitu Yuat. It's Monday, May 27th. This is Africa 54. Across Africa, women are facing the risks of revolt in Islamic societies. East Africa inches closer to banning hydroquinone skin lightening products. And we'll tell you about technology-based solutions being used to protect Kenya's wildlife. Across Africa, from Algeria to Egypt to Sudan, women are becoming more active in participating in demonstrations that demand lasting change in their societies. But their vocal activism in these Islamic societies is being viewed by some as an unwelcome threat, leading security forces to react harshly, often sexually assaulting women as a tactic of control. VOA Salem Solomon reports on the dangers facing women involved in protests that call for change.
When anti-government protests broke out in Egypt's Tahrir Square in 2011, Hind Naf'a was a college student. As she saw the images of young women demanding an end to a 3-decade rule of Hosni Mubarak, she knew she had to take part.
I participated there not only to seek freedom, dignity, social justice, or to call for human rights in Egypt, but also for my rights as a woman. It was the first time to have a voice to speak out.
Naf'a joined the protests without telling her family. While feeling exhilarated by the revolution, she soon saw its ugly side. During a protest in December 2011, Naf'a was attacked by security forces.
I was dragged, beaten, stripped, and there were around 15 soldiers were beating me, sexually harassing me, touching private area in my body, and they dragged me until the Shura Council building in Tahrir Square.
Naf'a was handcuffed to a bed even though her arm was broken. Her wounds were left to bleed without treatment for 2 days.
There were 9 other girls who joined me, who were arrested also and beaten. We were held in this room for more than 15 hours. We were tortured badly. They used electric shocks, and even they threatened us by raping. They released me not to home, but they released me to the military hospital because I lost my consciousness, and they thought that I did.
The abuse of Naf'a and other women sparked public outrage. Thousands of women marched in the streets demanding an end to violence against women and an end to military rule. In Sudan, women played a leading role in toppling a dictatorship. 22-year-old Ala Salah became a symbol of the revolution after photos of her leading chants atop a vehicle were broadcast around the world.
We want a better Sudan, a democratic state, one that judges all in accordance with the law without favoritism. So we're currently in the square until our demands are met.
In Algeria, women have played a key role in protests that brought down longtime ruler Abdelaziz Bouteflika. A photo of an Algerian ballerina dancing on her toes defiantly in front of a flag has gone viral. Protests by women, particularly in Islamic societies, seem to be an especially powerful symbol, and security forces have reacted harshly.
They used gender-based violence to crush women and to push women away from protesters and from participating in the public space. The whole mainstream media was saying, like, why they went there. So they were blaming us as women for going to Tahrir Square instead of blaming people who did this to us.
A violent attack interrupted a church service in northern Burkina Faso Sunday when gunmen burst into the building and shot dead 4 people while wounding several others. The assault during the morning session at the church located near the town of Titao was the latest in a series of attacks on Christians in the past month. No one is claiming responsibility for the attacks, which threatened to impact traditionally peaceful relations between the Muslim majority and Christians who make up a quarter of Burkinabés. The government is blaming unnamed terrorist groups operating in the country and Africa's surrounding Sahel region. Late last month, gunmen killed a Protestant pastor and 5 congregants in another church in northern Burkina, while a Catholic priest and 5 parishioners were killed in an attack in the central town of Dablo on May 12th. Another 4 Catholics died in an attack 2 days later in the northern town of Wagihuya. Countries in East Africa are set to ban skin lightening products that contain hydroquinone, a medical agent linked to health problems when used in high concentrations. The East African Legislative Assembly last week passed a resolution calling for a region-wide ban on the manufacturing and importation of products containing hydroquinone. Moses Havyarimana reports from Tanzania.
For years, 32-year-old clothing vendor Janet Jonisefu was using skin lightening products that contain hydroquinone. But she stopped the so-called bleaching after she says her skin became fragile.
I used to use beauty products containing hydroquinone, and it badly affected my skin because I developed patches on the face. I went to the doctor and I was advised to stop using it and instead use aloe vera.
Skin lightening products often use high concentration of hydroquinone, which can cause skin problems or mixed with other bleaching chemicals become toxic. Ghana, Ivory Coast, Kenya, Nigeria, Rwanda and South Africa ban or regulate the agent in cosmetics, while Tanzania bans imports. The East African Legislative Assembly last week passed a resolution on the region-wide ban of hydroquinone's manufacture and importation.
Hydroquinone is not only used by women, but also men. We've seen men bleaching seriously, even more than women. But it's becoming a problem. If we don't regulate it, it's going to become very problematic.
When used medically, hydroquinone can be an effective treatment for skin discoloration. Some East African lawmakers spoke out against a blanket ban.
A blanket throwing of a ban on an item which we are generally acknowledging that it is now a content of most cosmetics is going to cause serious trade disruption.
Critics point out the ban have failed to stop smuggled hydroquinone products from being sold openly. If signed by the heads of state, the ban becomes a law in all 6 East African community states, which includes Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, South Sudan, Tanzania and Uganda. Moses Havyarimana for VOA News, Arusha, Tanzania.
Anxious Malawian voters must wait longer to find out who is their next president. The country's electoral commission says final results of the presidential election will be delayed after the nation's high court ordered a review of the polls. The move follows opposition allegations of tampering. Voters cast ballots for president, parliament and councillors on May 21st. President Peter Mutharika's ruling Democratic Progressive Party faces stiff competition from the Malawi Congress Party, which filed the complaints alleging intimidation and tampering by the ruling party. The Malawian High Court ordered the Electoral Commission not to release results of the presidential vote until a judicial review of the complaints have been heard and results from 10 districts were verified. Kenya's Ol Pejeta Conservancy is partnering with a telecom company to create a technology lab that will develop and support technology-based solutions to conservation challenges around the world. Serena Chondre reports.
It's not easy for rangers to monitor and protect wildlife at Kenya's Ol Pejeta Conservancy. But thanks to new high-speed internet-based technology, the sanctuary will now be able to keep better track of the animals, helping to protect them against poaching and reduce any human-animal conflicts. Using the Internet of Things, a system which extends internet connectivity in physical devices, rangers can remotely monitor wildlife movements at any time and keep a track of any irregularities along the sanctuary's border.
Ol Pejeta is a 90,000 acres piece of land, and what we do is we want to know when our fence is on and when our fence is off. And when this is deployed in the field, it is able to give us real-time data from the field to the office.
Situated in the central Laikipia region along the foothills of Mount Kenya, Ol Pejeta is home to East Africa's largest population of black rhinos and the world's remaining northern white rhinos. Poaching has risen in recent years across sub-Saharan Africa, driven by well-armed criminal gangs wanting elephant tusks and rhinos' horns. These animal parts are often shipped to Asia for use in ornaments and medicines. The launch of a conservation tech lab at Ol Pejeta last week, in partnership with the telecoms firm Liquid Telcom, was widely celebrated. It will be used to research, test, support and develop technology-based solutions to conservative challenges around the globe. In addition to observing every animal fitted with a tracking collar, rangers will also be able to help prevent attacks on pastoralists and their herds by predators from its control room.
They lose about 60 cattle a year to the lions. So if you can, if you can track the positions of lions, if you can track the positions of cows, you can start to predict and help the farmers to make sure that they lose less, so they can move their cattle away when the lions are hunting. So these are the sorts of things that can make a difference.
The tech lab will use platforms like Earth Ranger, which collates data from remote sensor readings of animal movements, radio and vehicle trackers, camera trap photos and GPS-powered fences. It's already being used in wildlife parks in neighbouring Tanzania and South Africa.
That was Serena Chondri of Reuters reporting. European leaders have joined voters in casting their ballots to elect a new 751-member European Union Parliament. The polling began last Thursday, but 21 of the 28 member nations held elections on Sunday. About 400 million people were eligible to vote, and turnout was the highest in 20 years. Here's VOA's Ladza Hoke.
EU election officials say across the bloc, voters came out in significantly larger numbers than in the previous election in 2014. In many member states, including Germany, France, Poland and Sweden, the turnout was estimated at more than 50%. One reason for the record turnout is concern about growing populism in Europe, said Swedish Prime Minister Stefan Löfven after casting his ballot.
We need to stand up against the far right, stand up for women's rights, for the rights of employees. We need to make sure that European Union lawmakers are actually for the people of the countries within it.
Opponents of immigration, such as Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, expressed hope the poll would favor parties that want to block the influx of migrants into the Union.
This is the first election after the migration crisis, which has happened in 2015. In many countries in Europe, there was no chance for the people to express their own opinion on that subject.
Populists were predicted to finish first in two big member states, Italy and Britain. Right-wing parties also did well in Austria and France, although initial projections suggested that the far-right nationalist parties had failed to make a major impact. The traditional centrist coalition that has been in power looked like it was losing ground. As a result, the EU Parliament is expected to be more fragmented than ever before. Former Polish President Lech Walesa, who led the 1980s revolutionary solidarity movement, warned against growing political divisions in Europe.
There is great mistrust. We are all very divided. We're just coming out of a period of conflict, so nobody trusts anyone. It is therefore difficult to build something together, but we have no other choice. Either we'll destroy our civilization or we'll build it in an intelligent way.
President Emmanuel Macron of France, one of the EU's oldest and largest members, said the vote comes at the most perilous moment for Europe since the Second World War. Zlatica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, U.S. President Donald Trump's ringside evening in the Sumo Arena. We'll be right back.
The international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
Could be French,
English,
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African Beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/African Beat.
I'm Clara Frank, and here's what's trending. Marie Diouf has built a business gathering salt from marshland she bought in Senegal, succeeding in a trade where most marsh owners are men, and earning her the nickname Salt Queen. Diouf used her savings to buy her own salt flats in Fatick, one of the West African nation's biggest salt mining regions. But there's a twist to the product Diouf sells, because she adds iodine, which helps brain development in young children. She now employs between 10 to 20 men and women and aims to produce 1,000 tons of salt this season. Next up, it's an environmentally friendly win-win for invasive species removal at New York City's Riverside Park and a bunch of hungry goats. The goats get to munch on overgrown brush, and Riverside Park Conservancy doesn't have to dump chemicals on weeds. Goats are an ingenious, low-tech, and environmentally friendly approach to weed removal, harnessing the goats' natural hunger for leafy greens as the primary mechanism behind the task. They even eat species dangerous to humans, like poison ivy. And finally, construction on a $48.6 million mass transit tunnel for the Las Vegas Convention Center is set to begin in 2 months, according to a Twitter posting by South African-born billionaire Elon Musk, whose Boeing company was selected by the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority to build a loop system that can transport people along the various halls of its massive convention center. The project was described as having 3 underground passenger stations, a pedestrian tunnel, and 2 vehicular tunnels with an expected total length of approximately 1 mile. And that's what's trending today.
U.S. President Donald Trump and lawmakers are away from Washington, but questions about possible impeachment of the president continue to swirl as the White House thwarts multiple investigations led by House Democrats after the conclusion of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russia probe. As VOA Michael Bowman reports, while the House could impeach Trump, he is virtually assured of remaining in office.
Boeing's 737 MAX 8 jets could be back in the air as soon as late June. The planes have been grounded since March after 2 fatal crashes. But US regulators and Boeing officials held a private briefing on Thursday in Montreal.
Democrats are using their House majority to investigate President Trump and his administration on everything from the treatment of migrant children at the U.S.-Mexico border to the president's foreign business dealings and tax returns. Democrats also want the Justice Department to release the full, unredacted Mueller report. The White House is blocking them at almost every turn, causing tempers to boil over.
The Trump administration has taken obstruction of Congress to new heights.
We have to surmise that this is an absolute lawless behavior by this administration.
The House is taking steps to hold key administration officials in contempt of Congress, but the body has a more potent and explosive option, formally leveling charges against Trump or impeachment.
What we need to do is at least be on that track and at least be in the process of impeachment.
Now, the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration expects to approve Boeing 737 MAX 8 jet, which suffered 2 fatal crashes, to return to service as soon as late June. Sources told Reuters news agency that representatives of the U.S. air regulator informed members of the United Nations Aviation Agency in a private briefing on Thursday. Julian Seta-Thwaite reports.
Boeing's 737 MAX 8 jets could be back in the air as soon as late June. The planes have been grounded since March after 2 fatal crashes. But US regulators and Boeing officials held a private briefing on Thursday in Montreal. Sources told Reuters that late June was set as the target date. Boeing has been racing to develop a fix for the aircraft. It's updated software implicated in the crashes in Ethiopia and Indonesia. But it could still be a long time before all MAX jets are back in the air. Regulators in Canada, Europe and China want to conduct their own assessments. And the potential cost to Boeing is mounting by the day. On Friday, China's Air Transport Association said the grounding would cost its airlines $579 million by the end of June. Other carriers making similar calculations. Ryanair, United Airlines and Turkish Airlines among those to ask for compensation. Even clearance to fly won't immediately end their troubles. US airlines say it will take up to 150 hours to get each plane ready for service again. Then there's time and money needed to train pilots on the updated software. Get through all of that and there's one last question. Will passengers feel comfortable booking tickets on a plane with a checkered past?
It's time for Monday Sports Report, and joining us now is Sunday Shomari. Sunday, what do you have for us today?
I have a lot, Esther. Thank you so much. Over the weekend, U.S. President Donald Trump and his wife Melania Trump attended a big sumo tournament in Tokyo alongside Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and his wife, and presented the United States President's Cup to the victor during the state visit. Trump made history as the first U.S. president to watch sumo in the sport's homeland, and he waved to the audience as he entered the hallowed Kokugikan and then saluted them with the applause as they waved and raised their phones to take photos. President Trump again made history by climbing into the dohyo after 5:30 p.m. local time on Sunday and presented the President's Cup, which weighs about 30 kilograms, to the winner, Asanoyama, the sumo champion in Japan. A night to remember for the Japanese fans. And in soccer, Bayern Munich fans celebrated their team's 3-0 win over Leipzig on Sunday, a victory that gave them their 19th German Cup and helped them complete a domestic league and cup double. What a great day for them. Thousands filled Munich's Marienplatz with songs and dance, and in a festive mood that turned ecstatic once the players appeared on the City Hall balcony with their trophies in their hands. It is the 12th time Bayern has won the double, as coach Niko Kovac, who lifted the cup with Eintracht Frankfurt last year and led them to the final in 2017, became the first man to win the double with Bayern Munich, both as a player and a coach. From the balcony, he thanked all followers, and fans also had the chance to say goodbye to Frank Ribery, who made his final appearance against Leipzig with the club, and Arjen Robben, who are leaving Munich. The two wingers have been instrumental in a decade of success. They scored their last goals in that game that clinched a 7th straight Bundesliga title for Bayern Munich. What an accomplishment. Wishing them all the best. And now, let's talk cars. Simon Pagenaud won the 103rd running of the Indianapolis 500 on Sunday, narrowly holding off 2016 winner Alexander Rossi in a thrilling finish. The victory enabled the owner, Roger Penske, to win for the second time in a row and make history in that competition. Pagenaud made an audacious pass of Rossi before taking the white flag and holding off the hard-charging driver from Andretti Autosport. It was a great finish and enabled the French driver to hang on to his job with Team Penske. His latest win gave him team owner Roger Penske his 18th victory in his 50th year at the track. President Donald Trump sent a tweet of congratulations to Roger Penske and his team and promised to meet with them at the White House. And in World Cup soccer under 20 in Poland, African representatives Senegal, or the young Lions of Teranga, sailed through the round of 16 after crushing Colombia 2-0 on Sunday. Other African representatives, Nigeria, or the Flying Eagles, will be facing the USA this evening. And Mali plays Saudi Arabia tomorrow, while South Africa's the Amajutas are preparing for South Korea. And that wraps our sports for today. Esther, back over to you.
You're not going anywhere, Sunday. I need a little more information on the World Cup.
Yes.
Fill us in on what's going on, which teams and which country is likely to take a kind of spotlight in the continent.
Well, the spotlight right now is on the Lions of Teranga. These guys are Senegal. They had their second win yesterday. Now they're leading the group, and they have a chance to go to the second round. They have actually gone to the round of 16. So these guys are coming up very good right now. Everybody is watching. All the eyes are on them. Also, we have Nigeria. Tonight, they're meeting USA. But Nigeria had the first game draw, so they need to get a win tonight. And of course, USA is not going to let it happen. So it's going to be a great game to watch. And as you know, Mali is also participating in this World Cup.
Yeah.
And also we have the South Africans. They call these young boys the Amajutas. They're playing very well. So we're looking forward for some good things coming up of this World Cup.
It looks like we still have a little more time. What else do you have for us coming up?
I think, yes, coming up, we need to be watching. As you know, we're embarking on the African Cup of Nations very soon. These young boys that you see, in the next 10 years, they will be the one holding the teams. So they're now starting as young stars, and then they are graduating to the national team for the soccer, for the elders. So we need to watch these guys coming up. And of course, it's not too far from now, June 21st, in Egypt, things will be happening. And we are watching all these superstars coming from around the world going to Egypt.
All right, Sunday. Looks like we have a lot coming soon.
Okay.
So thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, and that's Sunday Shomari. Be sure to join him again next Monday for another exciting sports report on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Please watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From all of us here in Washington, have a good evening.